The first time I traveled to China and I saw people were wearing masks like this, I was like, what the hell, what are they doing? Today it's become kind of a standard to just see people walking around like this. It looks still a little bit ridiculous to me, but I got used to it, especially here in China. And also the moment when you take these off, when you get home and you're like, oh, freaking love that. That's not what we're gonna talk about today. Today, you and me, amigo, are gonna talk about how it is to travel in China these days. Let's find out.
I fly like paper, get high like planes. If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name.
It's driving me crazy.
Crisp. Pure crisp. My name is Magnus Detmar. I'm your Swedish boy here in Shanghai, China. I help you with business, I help you with sourcing, and I bring a lot of entertainment. Anyway, today we're gonna talk about how it is to travel in China after the coronavirus, because you guys that are long-term follower on my channel, if you're not, pourquoi? Por qué? Varför? Why? This gang, this club is called Los Detmars. And those people that subscribe to this channel get a lot of value and have a beautiful, happy life. So do that right now. Anyway, you guys that follow me knows that I love traveling. I travel all over the world. I travel as much as I can, even though Greta Thunberg says,
How dare you?
When I got back to China, I cannot travel outside of China because then I can't get back in again. And I love this city, as you probably know already. Last week, I traveled to a small little place called Hainan. Hainan is the Hawaii of China. It's way more beautiful than you think it is. I made a video out of that. Just check that out here or there somewhere. I made a video out of that. Anyway, so how is it to actually travel within China right now? It's a little bit complicated. It's a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, it is freaking lovely. So we traveled down to Hainan with airplane and went from Hongqiao Airport. Shanghai has two airports, the Hongqiao and Pudong. And I was a little bit scared, like what will happen? Do we have to sit in quarantine? Can we actually get into the hotel and stuff like that? So when you get to the airport, I recommend you to come a little bit early. First of all, it was like no people at the airport. So it's not because of that it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take quite some time because you have to fill in this form that basically says that you haven't been outside of China, you have been sitting in quarantine, you don't have any symptoms and blah blah blah. And when you have filled in that form, you also have to fill in it in the app. You basically scan with WeChat or Alipay, and then you fill in basically the same information. And when you fill in that health declaration form, it's basically to say that I'm healthy, I'm clean, I have no COVID-19. That's actually rhymes. Should I start a rapping channel? In the house. Hello, Miami. Probably not. Anyways, so when you fill that in, you get a green QR code. They check your temperature like 3, 4, 5 times just to get into the airplane. And when we were in the airplane, it was actually very, very, very few foreigners. We were like 4 or 5 in a whole plane, and all of them looked a little bit like suspicious on us. And also, when I had my mask down, one time a Chinese person told me like, put on your mask. So you have to be a little bit respectful because people see us as the risk factor here right now. So keep that in mind when you're traveling. When we got down to Hainan, we actually had to do the same procedure one more time because you have to kind of like check into a new province. So when you get there, you have to follow the guards, and then you have to fill in some application and show your passport and do all these random things. And you have to have the address in Sanya, and you have to do all those different type of things at the airport. And this probably took like, I don't know, 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. And then finally you're free. And within Sanya, everybody's super happy with you coming, because right now a lot of people don't travel down to Hainan. So right now a lot of hotels are kind of empty and they're super freaking cheap. So if you can travel to Hainan, do it now. Anyways, when you get to the hotel, you have to do the same procedure. You have to hand in the passport, you have to check the temperature, and you have to show your green QR code. And it sounds kind of a lot, right? But it's not actually that much problem. Then we stayed a few days in Sanya, which was amazing. Increíble. Så jävla nice. So there it was no problem. We stayed most of the time in the hotel, so they check your temperature every time you go to a restaurant or stuff like that, but no more problem than that. When you go back later is the same procedure, but then you just scan with your phone the QR code that they have, and then yours pops up and says that, okay, you're green light, you filled in all the information, you're healthy, you're clean, no COVID-19. And that you have to do when you check in the bags, and then when you go through the security, they check your temperature like 2-3 times, something like that. Also in the airplane, they check your temperature. And then when we got back to Pudong here, they actually didn't check anything, because when you travel within China, you don't become a new risk factor. You're basically just travel within the borders. Of course, you cannot travel to certain cities like Wuhan, and there are 2-3 other ones that you can't travel to. But you can travel basically within whole of China with no problem whatsoever. A few recommendations though. Numero uno. A lot of hotels right now don't allow foreigners to stay there. So wherever you're traveling in China, you have to check so actually the hotel actually accept you as a foreigner. I know, the hate comments are just like pouring in. It's like raining in, make it rain right now below. But that's just how it is. So always check when you're traveling in China right now. Always check so you can actually stay at the hotel. Don't just book it. You actually have to call them and say like, "Why go and koi ma?" And if they say koi, then you're good to go. Numero dos. Have more time. Don't put such a tight schedule so you don't have time for like all the checkups, all the registration and everything like that, because you don't really know where the checkup or the registration will be. More than that, our Hainan trip was freaking amazing. Furthermore, I also wanted to make a shout out for Snarky Guy that commented on my last video. He asked, what's the most hilarious thing that has happened to you here in China? There's happened so many funny things for me here in China, and I can do a whole video just about that. But one thing that you probably have seen in one of my videos is the best fake market down in Guangzhou. I'll link the video here. So there in the beginning, you just saw a very short version of it. But what actually happened was the first take, these two guys that's in the beginning of the video, they start to like hug me and lifted me up and walked away with me, and the guy that was filming, Luis, he was just cracking up. He was laughing so freaking hard because I mean I'm a small guy, and they just lifted me up and just took me away, and a lot of people started to take pictures of me and became a whole freaking situation there. So that was one of the most hilarious things that has ever happened to me. But there's been so many stories and I would love to tell you more about it. Thank you, Snarky Guy, for asking that question. In the next video, I'll shout out you. See you then. Bye bye.